Hey guys, welcome back to King's Outdoor Life. Thanks for looking at the videos today. I appreciate the support for those of you who have been with me for a while. And if you are just new to the channel, look at our subscriber numbers. We're at 889 when I'm starting this video. So I'm trying to get to 900. So we're going to do a giveaway. You see my logo, my King's Outdoor Life hat? I got some shirts made up. So if you are subscriber number 900, let me know in the comments, because I can't always see who is joining or subscribing or whatever. So anyway, if you see $8.99 and then you subscribe, that means you are number 900. Let me know in the comments and I will send you a King's Outdoor Life t-shirt. So the subject of today's video is either changing out or sharpening the blades on the Bobcat ZT2000. So I've already done part of it because that's just what I am. I want to make sure it's going to work before I try to do a video of it, because this is my first time to do this on this mower. Let me show you what's going on. So the first thing you need to do is put the mower up on ramps or on blocks or something so you can safely get to the blades underneath the deck. The way I was going to do it and the way I always do it is just run it up on these ramps. That is the safest way to do this. And then come back here to the back and put a 2x4 or something to chalk or scotch the back wheels to keep it from rolling off the ramps. There was a guy I knew, somebody in his family was working up under his zero-turn mower, and however he had it jacked up, it fell and crushed him and killed him. So it is real. You know, you do need to be safe when you're going about this. So the next thing you want to do is find out what size nut on this Bobcat ZT2000. It's a 27 millimeter nut. So then you've got to figure, all right, once I got my ratchet going, can I use a ratchet with a pry bar like this? I just put a piece of bar that I had and I put my ratchet up in there. You can see there's a ratchet, 1/2-inch drive ratchet, or an impact. This is a pneumatic or air-driven impact wrench. There's another one I had to choose from, or some people use these. These are probably the most popular choice right now, are the battery-powered impact drivers. What impact does is it hits, pop, 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 that's that sound, and that makes a big difference. When I started on these, again, this is the first time I've taken these off. The first one I went on, I had just this socket, I couldn't get it loose. I had that 4x4 right there up under there, so when I was pulling on it, the blade will catch that 4x4 and pull against the deck to hold it in place. But I still couldn't get it off with just a normal socket. Thankfully, I moved to this, and it was able to, after a lot of pow, 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 whatever that's called, a lot of impacts, it was finally able to knock those loose. But what that did was I had to get it up higher. So this here is a motorcycle ATV jack, also used for mowers. So I was able to put it up under the deck with that block under there and jack that up and get this high enough to get this impact wrench on there. So that's the only reason I've got this jacked up so high, is because using this big impact wrench, I had to get it high enough off the ground that I could get up under there and work on it. So if you can do it without jacking it up like this, I would certainly recommend, you know, only go as high as you can, as you have to. The higher you have it off the ground, the further it can fall and the more chance of getting hurt. So keep it as low as possible if you can, so you minimize the risk if it falls. All right, I'm gonna get my air hose back over here and I'll show you what I'm talking about with the impact wrench. Okay, so I got the air wrench on there, and then it's a matter of just pushing the button and let it pop, 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 you know, whack away and impact at it. So let's see if it'll get this one off. Alright, so that was one I had torqued on before this. I'm going to let the compressor go off and I'll talk some more. Can you see that fishing line? So always try to clean that off. Anything that can get stuck, hay twine, if you're mowing in the pasture like I am sometimes, fishing line, if you're mowing by the lake like I am sometimes, anything will get wrapped around there. Fill up in there and make sure there's nothing stuck up in there. All right, so here's something. This may sound stupid, but when you're as inept as I am, sometimes you have to think about things like this. So look how everything goes on there. Number one, look how the blade goes on. This curl, that's what creates the vacuum to stand the grass up so it chops it off. So this, with these bellows here, this creates that airflow. So you be sure which way the blade goes. This curved side goes up. Next thing, look at these spacers right here. See this spacer? Flat side down on it. So I'm going to leave it just like that to know when I go to put this thing back together, I got to make sure I put it back together right. So I'm going to set that aside like that. This washer, it's got kind of a curved side. It was curved side up. So I'm going to leave it sitting just like it went. So I need to know spacer, blade, washer, nut in that order. So I'm going to leave it in the order it is, and I'm going to take this over to my little vise I've got set up to sharpen it. All right, so I set up a little temporary vise here because the light's better right here. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to clamp this down. If you got a workshop vise or a vise in your workshop, that's probably better, but not really. This will hold it down. All I'm doing here is getting it so it won't move. Different methods here. You can put this, if you got a bench grinder, you can put these blades on a bench grinder. But the key with that is be sure you see the angle of that cutting edge. So always there's an angle to that, and you want to try to keep that same angle. That angle's there for a reason. That's the factory version of the most efficient way to get a good cut. So you want to try to keep that angle. Most people do it on a bench grinder, but a lot of people I've watched on videos and stuff do it with a side grinder. So you can take this side grinder and you can really get a better feel and see that you're keeping that angle. Don't hold it in one place too far. Don't get the blade hot. If you see it changing color, it's gotten too hot. Don't just sit there and just grind it on. Just do a nice, even grind across there to try to get that down to a good sharp edge. These blades aren't in terrible shape, but they're in, I don't know, I'll probably end up buying new blades. But I'm doing this here now in February before the first mowing. But the first mowing is always a limb field, pine cone field. You know, you're going to hit some stuff on that first mow, so don't be afraid to wait until after you mow the first time before you sharpen these blades or get new blades. So if you're buying new blades, take these, set them aside, hang on to them. If you bend one of your new blades, you'll be glad you saved one of the old blades just to have. So if you buy new blades, set these aside and hang on to them. All right, so I'm going to try to figure out a way here and clip the camera on my bill of my hat or something and let you watch me grind on this, because I'll need both hands. And we'll try to get these things in better shape. So when you finish, there'll be some burrs on the bottom. Just take your blade and kind of scrape those burrs off. You don't want to grind on the back side of that, but you'll just knock those burrs off. Not with your fingers. You don't want to get metal shards in your fingers, but just kind of knock those burrs off, because you don't want to get them stuck in your fingers by accident when you're putting the blade back on. All right, so then we'll go back and put the blade back on. So reverse order on the parts. Spacer goes on first, then the washer on the bottom. Put that back on here, and be sure you put the bolt back on there the way it goes. And finger tighten this. I mean, go all the way up to be sure you don't cross thread it. And also, if you'll see how that kind of wobbles right there? When you finger tighten it on there, you know it gets a good seated, or it's seated properly there. Sometimes you just stick the air wrench on it and hammer it up. It'll be kind of off a little bit. So by doing that, you should be sure it's seated. You don't have to over tighten these. The spinning of the blades will tighten them over time. So anyway, that's back tightened there now. Check your deck while you're under here. Make sure you don't see any obstructions or anything sticking out of there that you don't want to hit, and you're ready to mow for another season. All right, thanks for watching. Click like and subscribe.